Hi guys, it's Jamie from Journaling with Jamie, and today's prompt in the Junk Journal July challenge, day 5, is vintage. So I've got a brand new physics revision card. I will explain. Pam from Paper Outpost has been altering Trivial Pursuit cards. Now I have some altered playing cards that I'm working on. It never occurred to me, for some bizarre reason, that you could alter any kind of card to use in a journal. She started altering Trivial Pursuit cards. I suddenly thought, all my kids have finished their GCSEs. Even if they fail, they are never ever in a million years going to resit physics. So I am safe to purloin a massive box of these physics revision cards. There must be over 100, if not more. We're going to do vintage as a journal, what would you call it, tag that's going to go into a pocket. Oh, here's the box. Look at the size of that. On this page here, first things first, need to cover this card. Not looking very vintage. Old book. An Agatha Christie Miss Marple's Final Cases. Now this is relevant not just because it's an old book, but because my love of the 1920s came from reading every single Agatha Christie ever, and have been a little bit obsessed with, actually kind of as I got older it moved to the 30s, Art Deco, but it started as a 1920s thing. Because I'm trying to keep this journal personal to me, my vintage is going to be the 1920s. Let's just start with a page that's got plenty of writing on it. And what we're going to do is cover the front. It's going to be journaling spot. So this will have plain paper on the back. Here's another little tip I saw the other day on one of the channels I follow. All the channels I follow and watch are in my description, by the way. I cannot remember which channel this was, but I thought it was just awesome. Use these silicone pastry brushes instead of paint brushes for spreading your glue, because the glue will wash off easier and it's not going to ruin them, in the sense of you're not going to lose bristles and things like that. They are so cheap, those little brushes. You even get them free sometimes with other things. I've got 3. I've just grabbed one of them. I don't make pastry very often, so I don't actually need 3. But as I run a cooking business, sometimes I suppose I'm making things that need glazing. Not very often, because it is for personal trainers and it's fitness sort of recipes and videos, and not much pastry involved in that. When it's dried up a little bit, just going to trim it off and carry on from there. Just make sure it's all stuck down nicely. Probably get my spreader out. While that was drying, I just had a dig around the scrap box where all my offcuts are. I have this from yesterday's challenge. I've got this from I don't know when. It's just coffee dyed paper. I've got some doily. I use that actually on a vintage happy planner, of all things. This is from, I did a video on what you can find in charity shops or thrift stores, and I found these. I also found, really usefully for this challenge, these are all just like little offcuts. Another thing I found in the charity store were these 1920s style ink stamps, which is rather convenient if a week later you're doing a vintage challenge. If we're going to put it on this page, need to make a pocket, because I think it will fit into a little shallow pocket. It can stick up a little bit actually, almost like a page marker, so that's okay. So I'm going to create a little shallow pocket here. This is still drying, and it's what am I going to create it with and how am I going to decorate the pocket. I want it to go basically across the whole length. That's quite pretty, and I think that coordinates, maybe if you want to do a bit of layering, or a plain one. That's a bit dark. I do seem to be sticking, well, backgrounds are beiges. Maybe stamp the 1920s head on it, or some of it. It's not all going to fit, but line it up reasonably well, get some of it in. Yep, I'm liking this idea so far. Stage 1, glue this down. As I'm making a pocket, I only want a very thin bead of glue right at the edges. I don't want it to spread too far because I'm hoping this card will fit in it. If it doesn't, we might have to cut the card down. Next layer for this one, take that down because you want this to show a little bit. I might tuck something behind this. Like we've still got some offcuts of the lace doily, so we could put that there and then that. So we're beginning to build up the decoration. This still needs drying time. Now sometimes what I do when these are drying is put a little something in there to keep the pocket. What I was considering was whether to ink this edge, and do I want to ink the edge, or would it be quite nice to have it bright? I'm going to ink one and then see which one I prefer the look of. In the permanent espresso, I might end up doing the green as well, and then a plain one, and just see. I can use these on other projects. That's quite dark. I mean, that's not looking old, it's just looking edged. I need to get that antique photo that everyone uses, or vintage photo. Let's just try the green. I'm already, even as I'm doing this, preferring the green to the dark one. I've also got a purple. Is it worth trying the purple? Because we've got pink in here. Might as well have choices. I have a pale pink and a fuchsia. I can see me just doing loads and loads of these at the moment and just trying to make a decision from that. See, that's pretty. Oh, it's a rose pink. I think I like the green. I know this is moving around. When I feel like I've got enough ink on it, I never know when I've got enough ink on these things. Yeah, she looks a bit crinkly, doesn't she? What else do we want to do? Let's have a look at this. Still a bit damp, but not so damp that we can't trim it. So let's do that. I think when I edge this one, if I'm going to ink the edges of this one, I might do it in the green to match the lady. I don't know if that's going to fit in there. As she's going to be in a pocket, you don't need a full body. So you could go for, like, she's quite a nice image. There is a lot more detail in this one than this one. That one might come out cleaner. Also, she's facing a different way to the face. So I'm going to go with this one. Now, I know this is going to be too big. I can just tell. Definitely just a smidge too big. I'm going to trim it down. I'm going to circle off these corners again. Give her a little bit of colour. My colouring skills. Everything I come to do on here, you'll find that I say, oh, I'm not very good at this. And it's actually true. It's not just me being modest. My colouring skills, again, are not up to much. She's looking bright and cheerful. Not necessarily very vintage, but bright and cheerful. They wouldn't have had high split thighs, I know that much. So this must still be part of the dress. She does look good. I'm going to attempt to use these scissors, which are never easy to use for some reason. I do think she needs something behind her. That might work. I don't need to go over the top on all of this. I really don't. It's meant to be just a simple book tag. At least I've remembered to glue it on the correct side. That's something. I don't think this even went all the way down, so quite why I did that remains a mystery. Really? I put so much glue on and I didn't get that corner. Then would it be nice to totally reflect what's happening down there, up here? I think it might. I didn't edge her. Maybe I should have. When you take this out of this little pocket to write on, there's going to be nothing here. Just a bit of like that behind. I mean, this is all just so that when you pull that book tag out, you're not faced with a very boring page. I don't mind if this tears a bit. It's meant to be tatty lace looking. I like that there as well, actually. So while I'm got things glued and drying, I'm going to put this on. Oh, I did say from this book I might grab the name, didn't I? That fits rather nicely into that. When I put her in here, does she seem a little bit too bright to be vintage? Maybe not, actually. Maybe I quite like it. I was about to sort of shade her out a bit, but maybe I do actually quite like her like that. She looks nice and fresh, doesn't she? And this is quite fresh. So no, what I would like to do though is put a little tab on top of here. I am just going to find a piece of scrap from the old scrap box I can make into a tab like that. It doesn't matter if the bottom isn't straight, but you want the top, yeah, vaguely straight. On the back, what was I going to do? I was going to, and I might do this just in pen, even though my penmanship isn't that great, just write down my favourite film, my favourite novel, my favourite Poirot, my favourite Miss Marple, my favourite non-Poirot Miss Marple book, just to give it that personal edge. Book-wise, what are my favourite books? I'm just going to list a couple, obviously. I think Peril at End House, which isn't a normal one. I think with the Miss Marple it would be The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side. I don't know if I'm going to get that in. And then films, it would be Death on the Nile. I am going to have to put Murder on the Orient Express. And then your actors, I'm not going to fit everything in. So it's David Suchet, has to be my favourite Poirot. And Joan Hickson is my favourite Miss Marple. The only other thing I would have put on here, but I didn't leave myself enough room, was as a non-Agatha Christie, well, as an Agatha Christie but a non-Poirot and Marple one, it would have been Endless Night. So that is my list of Agatha favourites. Let's just pop that in here. That's my 5th day, and that's my interpretation of vintage because I wanted it to be personal to me. If you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Like, share, comment, tell me what you think. Are you an Agatha Christie fan? Have you read any Agatha Christie? Have you seen any of the films? I will be back tomorrow with Minimalist.